Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk to you about getting ready to send out your first ACT marketing automation email. And I just want to talk about what I think is one of the most important facts about sending out marketing emails. Now, I've read a decent amount on this subject, and what I want to be very clear on is that 80% of the emails that you send out with this tool will fail, meaning people will not open them. So right away, we're talking about an 80% failure rate. And I think the reality of thinking about that can make you think differently about the way you have to work with email. I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing because let's say, for example, you send out 1,000 emails. Well, 200 people are going to open it. So now the next step is, okay, wait, how do we make sure that when they open that email, the information there is compelling enough that they take some type of action that is beneficial to you? What is that? What is your expectation when you send that email out? So I think it's really easy to go create a template, send something out, but it's the things you need to think about before you even get to that point that I feel strongly can be the difference between this being a positive thing and a negative thing. Or it might be successful, but let's make it more successful. So right off the bat, be aware of the fact that 80% of the emails you send out are going to fail. And let's work from that number. And that is a good number. In other words, if you get 20% of the people to open your email, then that is a decent number. That's the industry standard. So let's just talk about this for a minute as you start to think about making your first template and the amount of time that's involved. So what are the things you have to think about when you create that first template? Well, you're probably going to want to have your logo available as some kind of graphic file, a JPEG or a GIF, something of that nature. You want to get that and have it someplace where you can access that, because one of the things you're going to do is get that into your template. Now keep in mind, the first time you create a template is the most time consuming because you're really going from scratch. The other thing you want to start thinking about are colors. What are the colors of your logo? The colors sort of your business, the theme. What are your colors? There are ways you can capture those numbers in the actual number code for that number so that you can plug it into stuff to keep the colors accurate with things like your logo. So yeah, you want to think about colors and things of that nature. Next, you want to think about that first email you sent out. What is it you're going to put in there? What is the text? What is the content? What is the meaning and the purpose of this email? What is the goal? You're going to think about things like formatting. How do you want to make this look? Now, I always go by a rule that I call it the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 rule. Now, right now, as you look at the screen, I've chosen some colors here, black and orange, a couple shades of orange, gray for the text, red for the text. Now, some people might like this look that I have for this presentation, for this video. And my experience has been if I ask three people, one person's going to love it, one person's going to hate it, and one person's indifferent. So the amount of time you spend on that template or anything that is artistic in nature, don't sweat it. You're never going to satisfy your entire audience. So again, you send out 1,000 emails, 200 open it, only 2/3 of those people are going to be okay with the look and feel of that. 1/3 you're just not going to satisfy. So the formatting, don't sweat it. Again, I think a lot of this stuff is overblown, and that's why I'm talking about it, because I'm going to suggest something in my next tutorial that will change the way you think about sending emails. Also, you need to think about your signature. How are you going to sign this? Is it coming from you or is it coming from someone else at the company? What is the email it's coming from? All these little things you need to think about. You got to make sure you set up your credentials, the opt-out. Make sure that's all part of the email, and that will come with time. You'll see how to do that. It's not that hard. It's not something that's 100% intuitive, but I can help walk you through it in this training. Last, subject line. What are you going to put in the subject line? Now, to me, what no one seems to want to talk about is the subject line. To me, absolutely positively the most important aspect of this email you're going to send out is the subject line. Now think of it this way. 80% of the people are not going to open your email. But that doesn't mean that 80% did not see your subject line. So a percentage of that 80% saw your subject line. To me, what I always try to do with the subject line is to promote myself. People that know me that I correspond with via email, you'll notice that almost every single email I send out starts with Tony Holowitz, colon, and then the subject, and I try to keep it simple. So when I send out an email, every single email I send out starts with my name. So those 80% of the people, when I send it out, maybe they didn't open the email, but it kept my name in front of them. And to be honest with you, that's one of my goals for that email, is to get my name in front of them. So even if they didn't need me or need that email or decide to read that email, and I don't blame them, we get a lot of email, I still promoted myself and they know I'm there, they know I'm trying. So when we really start getting into email and talking about it, I think there's a lot of things you need to think about. First, as a reality check, we need to make sure that the list we're sending out to is a clean list. We don't want to send out 1,000 emails and have a large percentage of them bounce. That is deemed as a bad email group to send to. So we want a clean list. And generally the way I recommend doing that is making sure that you've sent emails out to these individuals before and make sure that you know they're good, valid emails. Also, there's something in ACT called groups, and I have a lot of training on groups. The way this program works is you have to set up a group and choose that group to send the email out to that group of people. So before we even get to the point where we can send the email out, even after you've done the template and all that work, we need to make sure we have a group to send it to. So again, you did the template. We need to make sure we have a clean list. We got to get that clean list into a group. And the group might be called something like ACT Marketing Automation First Send or something like that. The next part is in the first email we send out, do we want it to drip or not drip? In other words, one of the things we can do is we can say, listen, once the email goes out, if someone hasn't opened it in 7 days, have it go out to them again. And then we could say again, if it hasn't been opened in 7 days, have it go out again. My advice to you is the first email you send out, keep it simple. Just have it one email to go out and forget about it. Just get the email out, see how it works, be able to come back and look at the information and what's happened with that email. So I recommend don't let it trip. Next, because I know there's going to be people that will bounce, even if you feel it's a valid email and you've sent them email, bounces are going to happen, people are going to opt out. How are you going to deal with that? So these are some of the little things you need to think about after that email goes out and before the email goes out. And if you prepare yourself and recognize this, it's going to make your life easier, and it sort of brings the whole reality of this situation together so you can think about some of these things beforehand. Also, you need to have goals. So the thing that I think happens with email marketing is a lot of people will say, yeah, let's send an email out. And they send it out and they just sort of walk away from it. What is the action you're willing to take based on the results of that email? So for example, let's say we send it out to 1,000 people. Well, if 200 people open it, what are you going to do for them, if anything at all? Might you decide that you're going to call every single person that opened your email, do a little telemarketing? What action are you going to take? If it's nothing, that's okay. But the more you can put into this, the more likely you're going to get something out. What is the real purpose of that email? Was it to create some kind of action for your client or the prospect? Do you expect them to purchase something? Are they going to register for some kind of event? What was the purpose? What was the sort of trigger in that email? So for the 200 people that open that email, what is the best thing that can happen from your point of view? And you got to get a little selfish here and say, I want them to sign up for a free trial, or I want to set up a meeting, or I want them to call me. What is it you want them to do? So you really want to think about some of your goals there and try to make sure that it works to your advantage. Because if you don't think this stuff through, what's the point of doing this? Also, this takes time. The first email you send out, the first few emails are going to take the longest because you're learning the system and you're learning how it works. So if you invest your time and energy in the price of the marketing automation, what do you expect to get in return? What is it? Is it a little bit of goodwill? Is it a little bit of just staying in touch with your customers? Or do you need a certain amount of revenue to be derived from these emails to make this whole thing worth it? So once you start going through these emails, the second reality check is you might have some people that complain about you sending emails, especially if you send too many of them. Some people might feel it's spam. You need to figure out, is there any follow-up time you're going to consider to do that? And then at the end, you're going to have to deal with all the bounces and the opt-outs. How do you manage all that? How do you look at reports to see what's going on? There's a lot of stuff that happens here. Now, nothing that is worthwhile comes easy, and I want you to recognize that. But what I want to do with this training is just make you aware of these things, create, some level of expectation. But I want this to really work, and it's worth taking the time to think it through, and that's why I'm spending the time on this particular tutorial to go over these things. If you have questions, you obviously can reach out to me. And if you have suggestions for a video, please also suggest that to me. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tony Holowitz. Have a phenomenal day. Thank you.